above the ridge line here would be visible, but we've committed to significant evergreen plantings on top of that that will screen this building from Adams Road. So the only place you're really going to be able to see this elevation of the building is from the top of the berm or from the parking lot out in front of the building.
Or potentially from the second floor of a home in the Hills of Oakland.
That's correct.
Or if you're on the roof of a home in the Hills of Oakland.
That's correct.
But you're thinking with that berm then, can you draw your line across where you anticipate you would now be able to see it from street level of Adams with the landscaping on top of the berm?
I thought about bringing that cross-section and adding it to this presentation, but I wanted to keep it short.
All right. Well, we can move on, but I want to get that idea. Right across the top of it.
Right across the top there, that's the cross-section.
This is the original.
Yeah.
On top, you want to look at the middle cross-section.
Okay.
You shouldn't see it. You have to kind of have a periscope.
Right. Okay. I recall that, but since we have this picture in the...
Thank you. That includes my presentation, short but sweet. If there's additional questions, we'll be happy to answer them.
There will be questions, but I'll, somebody's got a burning desire to throw one out here now. I was going to have Mr. Nix chime in with his report.
I just do have one comment, Mr. Chairman.
Yeah.
In the supplemental information sent to you on December the 13th, in the last meeting there were comments made in regards to how can we take this leap of density from 3 to 5 units to the acre to 7.38. That's a huge leap of increased density. And there were statements made by residents as to the current size of lots and their home sites in the Hills of Oakland and the surrounding communities. And on your page number 8, there is a chart of the amount of open space and the lot sizes in the Adams Road corridor between Dutton Road and Silverbell Roads. The Hills of Oakland are not 1 acre home sites. The Hills of Oakland home sites average 0.59 of 1 acre. There's 139 acres in the Hills of Oakland, and there are 21 acres of open space. That's 15%. Kings Point is 0.45 an acre, less than a half an acre per home site, of which there's only 6.25% of open space. I could go all the way down the line, but the average amount of open space for the communities along the Adams Road corridor is 17.04%. Blossom Ridge is 47.6%. So we have far greater amount of open space and preservation than any of the communities between Dutton and Silverbell Roads. In addition, excuse me, Mr. Cerno, in addition, there was a comment made in regards to this greater leap of density. And Kings Point, the Hills of Kings Point subdivision, which I'm a resident in, and there are residents here tonight, that is zoned today, VLRD. It has never been rezoned. There was, through a special land use, we went from 100,000 square foot 100,000 square foot lots, 2.3 acres in size. And the current home site size is 0.45 an acre. That's a 511% increase in density of what the current zoning is. Blossom Ridge, from the master plan of 5 units per acre to our proposal, is an increase of 146%. Not 511%, which currently exists right now. Which never went through a rezoning. Went through a special land use for the ultimate paved road density. But furthermore, I need to put this as far as the record straight. This is an enhancement to the community, not only for its need, is the need for housing for the elderly and seniors, but an enhancement in regards to its architectural landscape features, in regards to its preservation, in regards to its well thought of and thought through land use plan, its collection of density to preserve the amount of open space, in the number of dwellings to represent the need of our current and future residents based on very empirical data presented by SIMCOG, of which Oakland Township is a member. Thank you very much. I look forward for your consideration. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mosheri. I'll also note that the applicant has provided a revised traffic impact study in the form of a final report. It's my understanding, correct me if I'm wrong, that this final report incorporates or reconciles the comments made by the township hired traffic engineer who had pointed out some discrepancies. So to make the application as accurate as possible and in the spirit of completeness, the applicant has submitted a final report of the traffic study. Do I have that right? Is that what you did? There's nothing else in here besides the corrections vis-a-vis the comments made by the township hired engineer.
Every comment made by the township engineer is incorporated and then recorded. No additions for information, clarifications, and typos and things.
Thank you. So just to tidy it up a little bit, this becomes a traffic study for this application and it replaces the other one, or?
That is correct.
It's still a matter of record?
No, this replaces the previous one submitted.
Okay.
It just cleans up the errors that the independent review had noted in their traffic study.
Okay, excellent.
Okay.
Well, Mr. Nix, you have the floor. Why don't you keep going?
Thank you. The first part of my report, which is only 3 pages in length, recognizes the changes that were made by the applicant as just reviewed by them, including the traffic information. The Planning Commission had asked questions, though, regarding traffic, and I had a chart in my December report indicating the difference between single-family residences, peak hour, peak afternoon types of trips, and attached senior housing trips. And the question was asked, could you expand that to also include the assisted living facilities? And we did find a comparable traffic generation element of that. A single-family home in the morning is 0.75, afternoon is 1.01, with a total number of trips during a 24-hour period of some 9.57 trips in a 24-hour period. Attached senior housing in the morning was 0.13, as opposed to assisted living is just a hair higher at 0.14. Attached senior housing in the afternoon is 0.16, and assisted living is 0.22, just a few ticks higher.
Excuse me, Mr. Nix.
Okay.
Mr. Sermon, you take that outside, please.
For attached senior housing, the total trips per unit was 3.48, and for assisted living was 2.74. Now, the 2.74 number applies to those units that are within the larger structure, okay, as defined and provided to us by the applicant. It's those types of living units there. The residents aren't anticipated to have as many cars, so taking that standard and looking through all of the various multiple family traffic categories in the ITE manual, is those numbers seem to align up with what they were proposing to do for assisted living. And then attached senior housing was basically a single family residence in an attached unit at a one level basis, not in a multiple family type structure, and that's where the 3.48 came from. So in total, if you compare that to a existing layout of 61 dwelling units on that, you still generate more 24-hour traffic. Okay? More 24-hour traffic than you would have if this property were developed under the existing zoning. But it does produce less peak hour traffic, both in the morning and in the afternoon, than if this property were developed with the existing zoning of some 61 units that could be placed on the property. That was what you were looking for from the last meeting, as I recall. Another question was that you had asked me to research and provide some additional thoughts on was impacts on infrastructure and features. And that was primarily those areas of utilities, sewer, water, and public service types of commodities, police, fire, things of that nature. I provide you, well, and also our natural resources. We looked at that also. We started out commenting about the physical development of the site. As Mr. Mosheri pointed out this evening, there's most certainly a very large amount of open space that we achieved by this clustering of dwellings on the piece of property. We still have the tree replacement, tree ordinance that we have. You take down a tree, you have to replace it with the same number of caliper inches. That ordinance isn't going away. So all the trees that he does take down with this project, that are 12 inches and greater in size, he will be replacing those with a like number of caliper inches. And you can see from the site plan, even though it's a concept, he has a generous amount of landscaping of trees on the piece of property, partly for aesthetic reasons, partly for screening purposes, to achieve his objectives. But we still have, go ahead.
If I may interject there, that's not a consideration at this stage in terms of how he's going to account for all the trees under the ordinance 60, the tree ordinance. That's at a future stage if it comes back to us, if it is, if we recommend approval and is approved by Township Board and comes back, we will then be looking in more detail at the site plan with the tree ordinance and other things.
Also with the wetland ordinance, which that ordinance will still be applicable here. There are some slight fillings of wetlands that get road continuity and roads across some of the narrower areas of wetlands, and he is also will be looking at providing mitigation for those wetlands that he has to fill. It's required by ordinance. It doesn't permit him to just get away with that, but that'll come again at this next level if we get there.
But if you would opine at this point, you don't see anything impeding his ability to mitigate all those issues when it does get to that level of detail. We've seen more detail here than we needed at this stage, but you have reason to believe that it's.
It does not appear to me, based on my experience, to be a problem with mitigating and meeting our ordinances on this site. Then there's the sewer water, stormwater issue. I had a conversation with the township engineer. There is adequate sewer and water service to this piece of property to accommodate this. And as we've stated previously, this is the only high-density conservation site in the township where we do have adequate sewer and water to service the piece of property. And those three utilities, water, sewer, and stormwater, will all be evaluated consistent with township rules and regulations if we get to the next level of site plan. But again, I don't see any problems or concerns in meeting township standards on this piece of property with what I know of the piece of property and what I know of utilities in the area. Those are the areas that you had asked me to provide additional comments on for your consideration. Our recommendations in our December 1st memorandum still stand. I didn't see anything that we additionally looked at that would alter that recommendation or suggestion for your consideration, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. I think it's to add to that discussion about the tree ordinance, the wetlands, the water runoff and other management issues, other things that we'd be looking at on a future project if it were to go that far and come back to us for site plan review. Would be things like lighting,